Propulsion start.
From the trenches of motorsports and Gearhead Central, this is RealTuners Radio, your all-motor, boosted, and nitrous-fed hour of power. Now, here's your hosts, the Reverends of RPM, the Faction of Traction, John Bewley, Scott Clark, Bill Fowler, Scott Evans, Mark Dahlquist, Mike Perdue, James Short, Tom Sewell, Brian Barnhill. This is RealTuners Radio.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of RealTuners Radio. Tonight is number 137. So we just got back from the East Coast Timing Association's Arkansas Mile event, and it was totally awesome, even though we totally got our asses kicked. We can talk about that a little bit, show a couple of videos that we were able to capture that did turn out pretty cool. And then we can pretty much talk about whatever else comes up. So without further ado, let's unmute the guys and get us going. Hey, everybody. How's it going? You guys with us tonight?
Nope.
See, yeah, we almost got the intro right, but he cut the audio off there. It's all right. We'll get it. Nobody else is here. We're going for that.
What do you mean nobody else is here?
Nobody
here.
Just the three or four of us? How many? Wait, we got four people.
Hello.
Yeah, okay. So we got Mr. Fowler, Mr. Barnhill, Mr. Perduto, and myself. And our lovely, beautiful assistant, Jason, over here to my
I
left.
see James. It looks
see
like
James.
James.
Oh, there is.
coming.
Wait, is James on here? Hold on.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
yep,
here.
he is. I screwed that up. What's up, James? So, well, gosh, where should we start? I mean, I can just start with my little book report from my adventures last weekend. The reason we didn't have a podcast last week because we were packing up to go to the Arkansas Mile with one of our students and customers. A couple of them, actually, a handful of people that came to our Florida class a couple times. Rick Lind, if you guys went to the class, you remember his blue, was it a 69 or 70 Talladega body on a DEI Cup chassis, and it's got a Mopar R6 NASCAR engine in it with twin, is it 67s or 76s? Shit, I don't even remember. It's got twin precisions that Tom Sewell actually spec'd out, and he is not here tonight. But anyway, so it was pretty cool. Should I try to share that video? Hold on here. Let me bring up. I'll try to share it here first, Jason. If not,
I
you can
think
take
that's
it
an
away.
awesome way to kick off the show.
Yeah, hold on. So let me tell a little bit of the story here while I'm queuing this up. So our driver, Rick Lind, great guy, awesome guy. You guys know Rick and his crew chief, Steve Kirkendall. Well, Rick had an incident working on the car and cut his fingers, two of his fingers really deep, and two of them scratched up. It ended up being a total of 35 stitches. They had to take him all the way to Memphis, which is like an hour and a half away, to sew him up, and he was out till like 4 or 5 in the morning. So we had Aaron Brown. If you follow NASCAR stuff, Aaron Brown he's a guy that I think his day job is he owns some company that consults for a bunch of NASCAR people and teams, but he agreed to test drive the car for us because we were fighting other gremlins. We were having a problem where as we turned the boost up on this engine, north of about 1,600 horsepower, the crank would start flexing enough that the crank sensor reluctor wheel, which was mounted out on the front, would flex enough that it would get away from the sensor, and it would also grind into the sensor. In fact, if the sensor was closer than about 50 thousandths of an inch, it literally was grinding. And for a little tiny, small blockish type sized engine, that is not a good thing. That's the kind of flex you would see on a big ass drag racing big block. But anyway, so let's see here. Can I share? Can you guys see this right here? See the in-car image? It looks like it's working. Yeah. So let me hit play, and I don't know if you can hear it or not, but this is what an in-car looking forward looks like in one of these passes. And he made it to 219 miles an hour here, and he did that before the 3/4 mile marker, which means that this would have been likely a 240 to 242 mile an hour pass. Yeah, I'm guessing they don't get the audio, but so anyway, you can see the markers going by. And here's where it touches down. right there. And there's the 3/4. So anyway, that was that pass from that view. Now I think I've got a view of him.
Is it right, Scott, that he pulled the chutes at the 3/4?
No, he
It
pulled
went
the chutes
217?
because the motor shut down.
Oh,
So
okay.
the ECU we had a problem where the crank sensor, the reluctor wheel would actually touch the sensor and it would cause a sync loss. And Holly, fortunately, when you have a touchdown like that, the Holly will actually just shut off instead of like blowing the heads off the motor or the rods out the block. So we were happy with the fact that it had that safety, but we were not happy with the fact that we were having that problem. I'm looking here, video. Arkansas Mile. Here's the side of Aaron's pass right here. And again, I don't think you guys have audio from my computer. That's okay. But this is the side view of that same pass. And they give him the go. And then there's a push
Dash
truck.
made of like tar paper?
Pretty
stuff?
much. This car is not this is the Millennium Falcon of land speed cars. It's safe, good tech, it drives safe. So this car's been optimized in the wind tunnel, like hardcore optimized. It's one of the fastest cars out there at the Arkansas Mile. It's been 237 previously, and we were hoping for mid 240s with the new power, and it was showing it in the incrementals, but we couldn't get that far without touching the crank sensor down right there. You shut it down. Then there goes the 3/4, and then here comes the mile shortly after, right there. So anyway, he was testing the car out for us.
I have it in my head that one of these cars, and by these cars I mean this body style, and somebody who knows NASCAR records better than I do will correct me on this, but it's a relatively ancient Ford body, I think, that owns the absolute record for NASCAR on an oval, by the way, not
I
the.
believe that's this car that was banned. Isn't that the story? Or
Yeah, I'm having trouble remembering, but back in the days when they had the 429s in it, and then NASCAR decided that averaging 230 something miles an hour around an oval was just insane, and so that brought us small block NASCAR and all the other stuff. But again, somebody smarter than I am will fill us in on that.
yeah, someone out there will know. One of the Ford guys, but I know that this body was the one that was outlawed. That was the whole point of him doing. He had this body, he had that chassis to put it on, and so that was how he ended up with that. Oh, where's Jason's drone video? Hold on. So we even screwed around. It was kind of windy, but we brought a drone out there. And hold on, let me find the drone footage here. It is. Do we have? Oh, here we go. Drone. You got it over there. Yeah, go ahead and play it, Jason. He's going to play it. You guys won't see it in the stream, but here's just a quick, what you can do just dicking around when you're an absolutely entry-level drone flyer. I don't know why it's got the, yeah, see, look at that. You can launch it up in the air. It's pretty cool, man. You could actually see the whole pass with the drone, so the people on the stream can see it, but not my fellows in the, okay, cool. We're back.
How fast could the, okay, so this is an overhead. Wow, that's pretty cool. Wow,
yeah,
look at that.
I know. So, dude, this makes me, and this is one of those little, check this out. It's a DJI Mavic Mini. So it's so small that it's under the regulated weight for the FAA, and you could literally pretty much fly it anywhere. There's restrictions. There's still some rules and restrictions. And if you want to use it for commercial purposes, which I wasn't, I was just playing around. But yeah, isn't that cool? That thing took some really cool footage.
I like the 3D shadow graphics too.
Oh, the anchored thing. So Jason got Adobe Illustrator, or Adobe After Effects. Yeah, and he's like playing with it. So he's like, I'm gonna learn how to do that. So he did. Anyway, just kind of screwing around. But
sweet.
Yeah, that worked out good. I really want that for the drag strip. It's like, I'm surprised. And then did you see the drone footage that won a Barnhill? Can you share that and play that? You should have that.
This is insane.
I don't have it. I guess I can pull it open on Facebook and share my screen.
Yeah, so you can click share. Do you see how to do that there? If you're
let me get to it. So
we'll talk for 10 minutes.
What is this thing called? A whoop ass drone? Or
no, a cine whoop. Okay, it's called a
well, I
cine
was
whip.
close.
It's a combination between a it's a do-it-yourself kit, and it's a combination between a racing aerobatic type of drone and something that'll carry. It's big enough to carry a small GoPro camera, right? And it's it's you get your first drone, as I've learned, and I'm a noob at it, and then you start doing the research you should have done beforehand. You're like, oh my god, I'm totally going to build one of these, and you can build one of these for like $300.
So this is a kludge between one of those racing ones, which I will admit freely that I have watched a couple times, the people racing the little flying drones and wherever the hell they race those things, but they're fast and it's bizarre.
It is
But
bizarre.
yeah,
They're
the
super
idea that you could
fast.
put a camera on one of those is kind of cool, as we will see here shortly.
Oh, yeah,
I'll see if I can share this. I'll see if I can share it with sound. Not that it's a huge deal, but
the sound's kind of cool too. Here we go. Brian's sharing. There we got it. Go ahead and play it.
Swap Mustang at Grid Life over the weekend.
Nice.
And we'll close that. So
that's badass. That is so. I aspire to do something like that.
Yeah, that was actually. So actually, there's more. There's actually an amusing story about that particular video. So basically, he's loading the car up Thursday, and I get like an emergency message from him. And usually, he's pretty laid back. Of hey, we're having a little bit of a problem. Just give me a call when you can. He's like, hey, I need you to call me now. So I call him, and it's doing a bunch of weird stuff. And like as I'm in there, he's like, oh, dude, the car's sitting here and idling, and it says it's 200 kPa. I was like, all right, so you got a shit map sensor. So he had some, I think it was actually a Holley map sensor, but it's like the third one he's had shit the bed. So he grabs another one, solving a problem. So I just set him up on the onboard map sensor on the Haltech real quick. So just had him run a long cable. Not my favorite thing to do, but this is literally just after we talked about this, running long hoses to map sensors. So I was like, it'll be fine. You're fine. Just send me a data log, make sure it's good. So he goes out and does like 3 sessions. He's like, yeah, it's kind of okay, but fuel pressure's dropping a lot. So I was like, all right, well, send me a log. And the guys from Haltech were there. And I'm chatting with Nick from Haltech. And he's like, yeah, dude, like fuel pressure's down to 22 PSI fuel pressure differential. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And he forwards me the log. And I was like, I messaged Shane. I was like, hey, dude, why is this car running 18 PSI at 22 PSI fuel pressure? Like, this thing was tuned for 14 PSI. You might want to turn it down. And then the next thing I do is like, he sends me, he's like, nah, I shot this instead. So that's 18 PSI at 22 pounds of fuel differential with every fuel pressure compensation possible in Haltech. And it's still running dead on the Lambda target. But I don't know how long that pump's going to be happy doing that.
Not long. Don't call me.
And that was, if you saw my post about, I forget what it was, crewing for drift teams and drift cars has prepared me single-handedly for a disaster that's parenthood than anything else. It was because of the conversations with Shane this weekend. But the car came back one piece and clean, so.
Closed loop Cowboys.
So anyway, hold on. I'm shit talking. Come on, keep talking, guys, so I can take time and shit talk on the Facebook post.
Who are you talking trash to, Scott?
Perdue, you're the one that played the goddamn video of your friend's car beating up on the beer can thing or whatever. Lyle's all mad. We love you, Lyle. We really do, man. I'm sorry. He played a video last week of Beer Money getting smashed. Beer Money did really good, though. Beer Money won the JJ's arm drop thing, didn't it? So that car is
that's a difficult thing to do because of all the things that are set up against anyone who's not part of the JJ team.
No, but it's anyone who doesn't know how to play head games. And I mean, guys like Lyle and those guys are pretty sharp at playing head games. I mean, they're
there's that, but the bottom line is you still have to roll off the trailer with no testing, you know, on a road or whatever where those guys have been testing for days. And then you have to science out the, you know, are they going to fake you out and hold the line or let their person leave and they got 2-3 tenths on you before anything happens. So yeah, it's an impressive win. To win anything on that show is impressive because you have everything against you.
It's all about the hustle. It always is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a TV show about the hustle, and I don't know what anybody else thinks, but I'm bored to shit with it because
I mean, I am too, but I'm just saying I can
They
see why
win all the
on those
time.
guys that you're not going to play head games. Those guys are not stupid when it comes to head games and drag racing. They were born at night, but they weren't born last night.
No.
Even if Lyle's mad at me, I'm going to have to say I know he's not dumb. He's sharp. So, I think I've seen sharp guys can kind of do well on the JJ thing.
Lyle has no reason to be mad. If he's mad over the video last week, I mean,
I don't think
that's
he's
drag
mad.
racing. I'll buy him a
He's a
beer,
good
and the next
sport.
day, if we take the starting line together, it's my job to beat him. That's our jobs.
Sure. He's a good sport. No one was there to tune that single traction control sensor Chingus. I love that term. He's been hanging out with Chad way too long. Talking about the Chingus and the Chungus.
I was wondering what he meant by Chingus. I don't even know what that means.
Oh, it's a Chad Reynolds term, dude. It's hilarious when Chad. I worked with Chad at a company out in the West Coast for a couple years, and it was a good time, dude. We had a lot of fun, and he did a lot of really good work. But he had really funny terminology for things if it didn't. Like if the brain doesn't have a term ready for the conveyor belt, then the conveyor belt will automatically just start kicking out terms that don't make sense, but 1 or 2 or 3 syllables. Chingus was a popular one. Grab the Chingus over there. If you know Chad, it's pretty funny. Those are just some good dudes. Got tons and tons of great Chad stories. So anyway, what else is going on? Anybody else go racing this week? Been drag racing anything?
We've been watching rainfall for 7 straight days.
Oh yeah, we just had a massive storm take down a tree in my front yard. So that's
And
a
now another
problem.
It looks like a hurricane's about to blast right back where that one just hit in Louisiana. They're gonna get doubled up. Welcome to Florida life, bitches. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't be.
Corey Willis and those guys, dude. If they
Yes.
take another pounding like they did, that is just some bullshit, man.
Yeah.
Mother Nature, calm down. God.
And this one looks like it's running right up that same path.
I know. Did you see his post today? He's like, and he is the most upbeat
He is.
Facebook poster on the planet. Like you could just be, somebody could be crapping on him and he'd be like, oh, there's a bright side to this. Today he's just like, I don't know. I'm getting tired of being upbeat with this weather bullshit because they're still living on generator power, I think, down there. Oh, man. But anyway, of course, it's not making the news, but whatever.
CJ Cave, the Summit Pro rods, they're like any other budget connecting rod. I mean, are they a good rod? Yeah, they're a good rod. Are they better than a K1 or a Molnar? No. They're a solid budget rod. Like I tell everyone, if you're buying $300 to $500 connecting rods, just prepare for $300 to $500 worth of horsepower holding. Let's put it that way. Not that guys haven't gone fast on them before I get a cease and desist letter from Summit.
Let's see. Oh, man, I've been missing all the YouTube questions. Sorry, guys. What's up, everybody? Jerry, Dale, Val, Aaron, Kenny, Howard. Oh, I love that he's listening to us.
I got Facebook up, but I can't watch YouTube. I'm actually having to watch Facebook on my phone because my laptop this week's being a pain in the ass.
I just sent you a link for a better laptop, Mike.
I can't look at the link because it'll lock my laptop up.
I think that's when I was building my new computer, my old computer crashed 3 times while I was trying to order the parts.
Man, so I'm all about building the computer, the desktop. We built a new server for the streaming audio and video, and other than user errors, that thing has been trouble-free for like a month, and I am all about that. We spent about $1,300.
I have a desktop that works, and I still love me a desktop. I don't know. I don't speak computer inside, but I think there's just more room for activities in there. Things just work better.
No, that's for real.
As somebody pointed out online here, Chad must be from Cali, Dakota Dale. The reality is it's a mixture of Texas and California.
But he was born in Northern California.
Yeah, because the whole Chingus thing, yeah, I get that. So I'm used to that. Below that, though, is an interesting question about we added a hygrometer to our data logger. Anyone else have tips, suggestion for safe mounting other than a location with a fresh air stream?
It depends on the hygrometer. If it's one of the farm grade ones, we did this on a pro stock car and used a farm grade one, and it seemed to work okay. It depends which one you have. Is it a PWM output or a 0 to 5 volt output, Jerry?
We will ask him to.
And then he's going to post up. He will. And then the next question is do you know what needs done with it? Like in my case, it was such a minor thing that I basically let the engine builder tell me what to change with water grains. But the one we had did behave consistently. I don't know how much more I can share about that.
Can you just talk about what is it
What is a hygrometer?
output? Does it actually, well, yeah, what is it would be good, but then what does it output? Does it actually talk water grains, or does it talk some, percentage of,
It gives you a 0 to 5 volt number that then they then give you a chart that tells you, depending on what you're looking for, hey, if this is water grains you're looking for, then here's the math you have to do for that. If it's just humidity percentage, it depends on what it puts out. But the one we had a 0 to 5 volt output, and it said, here's what it means, and we just built a simple table for that as an analog
and
sensor.
the table does what then? So you
Offsets
have a
your
certain amount
ignition
of
timing.
basically water grains equal humidity in a certain way. And so what do you adjust and what do you change based on an increasing level of water grains?
In a pro stock car, much like water injection, increasing water grains will slow down the burn time in the combustion chamber. I mean, all else being equal, if that's the only variable you're changing, it will just like water injection, it'll a little more control and slow down the burn time. So to get your combustion pressure center or the peak, I'll call it the peak. That's not necessarily the correct term, but it's the easiest to understand. You get that combustion pressure peak to happen at the same place or the optimum place, which is usually 12 to 15 after top dead center. You got to advance the timing. So long story short, you'll create a table that says, hey, the more humid it is, the more timing advance in the positive direction.
And this is because the more water that's in the air, the less oxygen and CO2 you have room for. So therefore, water grains essentially takes up space, right?
It does. They take up space, and they also have the whole latent heat of vaporization effect. So it actually that slows the burn as well.
As a nitrous guy, give me all the water grains.
Yes, yeah.
So that was going to be my next question. So how does that affect a tune? It's one thing to say what it does in an NA engine. We should probably go back to that. But to Mike's point, what is it you're doing with a nitrous motor versus what you might do with a turbo motor or a centrifugal or belt-driven supercharger?
As on a nitrous motor, it just opens my tuning window. It's going to let me get more timing in the motor when I need it without risking the motor. As far as turbo guys, and Scott would know more than that. They're better than me. I've heard it doesn't have the biggest effect on the turbo motor at all.
I've never really had turbo guys. Here's where I think that comes from. I don't know that it does or not. Haven't done what I would call any really good type of testing on that. But I think that it matters more for your naturally aspirated guys and maybe even your nitrous guys because they'll want to squeeze out the last 5 horsepower. Mm-hmm. But with a turbo combo, fuck it, turn the timing back and just add more boost. You don't really care if you don't really fight for those little last 5 and 7 horsepower things. Yeah. You just turn up the boost.
Nitrous guys, we're already at the limit of how much pounds per hour that cylinder head's going to flow. We can't force any
so
more.
You're squeezing it. Yep.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my understanding. The only thing I've used it on was naturally aspirated NHRA Pro Stock stuff.
So taking it back, just to clarify this for everybody. So then you're changing, you have like in a Holly, you would have a separate table that you would then drive this from to adjust timing and or fuel or not?
Mike, you want to take that one?
Oh, sorry. I was trying to.
I was shit talking too. We were both shit typing.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be talking to the audience, not shit typing.
Sorry.
No, I feel like I'm only getting like every third question across the Facebook because I see Eric's response about do you see an impact with the 85 or M1, but I don't see any question before that. So I feel like my phone's only showing me certain things. As far as the question, no, especially a nitrous application, because like Scott said, we're only talking about the last 5 to 6 horsepower. I'm not letting a table do that work. I'm going to be doing that work as the tuner, and hopefully whoever the car owner is going to be doing that manually every time because your water grains are going to move throughout the course of the night, and I can't risk. What's the word I'm looking for? My data being wrong on what the water grains are going to do at that.
Or your guess and prediction.
Yes.
Yeah. You look at plugs. So, do you see an impact with E85 or M1 fuels? Well, Eric, most methanol stuff is not. In our world, not naturally aspirated. The naturally aspirated methanol stuff you see is like sprint cars and stuff, but
track racers.
Yeah, not in my experience. I'm sure there are people out there that have and could talk to it more intelligently on those two fuels. But in both of those cases, for us in our world, those are usually forced induction fuels, and there are just easier ways to not ride on that, dangerous line like Mike's talking about and still make a lot of power.
So while we're on the topic of the 85, and we don't have a lot to talk about tonight, I have a small rant about a certain guy who brags about being the king of E85. If you are reading, let's say the Facebook page is called one of the better E85 pages, and the guy is repeatedly telling you that the way to tune your E85 combination is to, on nitrous or in any form of power adder, take no
it's the
timing
carburetor
out.
guy.
Oh yeah, take no timing out of the motor, gap your spark plugs to 32,000s, and just keep dumping fuel at it till it runs good.
And run hot plugs.
Yes, just please unfollow that page, go somewhere else, and ask.
He's got me banned from there because so the guy that is that carburetor tuning hero or whatever, he actually drives a city bus during the day. So he's a hobby guy, number one. Okay. And I'm okay with that. There's nothing wrong with driving a city bus. No. Dude, I'd want to drive a city bus. That looks fun as shit for a day or two. But anyway, yeah, he's not full-time guy, but just that same guy told us that he literally posted on Facebook, yeah, I taught the Honda engineers at Honda how to do E85 in their flex fuel cars. You know what's funny? Honda never offered flex fuel cars in this country, and I don't think anybody, he's a carburetor guy, doesn't do EFI anyway, whatever. So we'll stop beating up, but holy crap, be careful, horrible
Also,
advice.
we don't do the calibration on any of the 4 cylinders in the US.
Right, and so Brian actually was an OEM calibration engineer for Honda. So I just want to throw that out there.
It's not entirely true. We did some slight adjustments. The main caliber for any 4 cylinder was all done in Japan, and they never made a V6 flex fuel car.
There was a time, and Scott Clark will remember this, when running the car fat and continuously adding timing, that was thought to be the way to do this.
Yeah, and then they came out with progressive rising rate fuel pressure things in about 1994.
That's what I said.
Oh my God.
And then we went party like it's 1999.
Some PTSD.
Right.
Yeah.
Just put one of these on your 5.0 Mustang, buddy. My favorite thing is when they let off the gas and there was like puddles of fuel coming out the exhaust. But don't light that. We all know what happens when you have fuel coming out the exhaust. Poof. It wasn't my ECU, I promise. So, what?
That's where you get in trouble.
What else are we missing here? We got any questions? Don't make us go away and watch the taping of the debates. Dahlquist didn't want us to talk about don't say anything political. Some people get mad. I'm like,
I have it going on out of my peripheral vision. And the fact of the matter is they're both sitting there looking like they're eating bad eggs. So it must be going well.
Okay. Well, I mean, I would have thought that Pence and Harris could have a much more civil discussion, but or intelligent, whatever.
Well, I'm certain that it is. They're seated. They're divided by not one but 2 plexiglass barriers. They're about 20 feet apart on a stage, and they're asking previously screened questions. So it's going to be really great.
So there actually is a question. Dakota Dale.
Yep, Dale's my buddy of mine.
Basically, all-wheel drive pickup. Traction control, is it possible since all wheels are driven wheels, which in theory, assuming everything's locked, will spin at the same speed? I guess it depends on what ECU you're doing. If you can do a GPS reference, then yeah.
A really fast GPS. There's somehow a few of them.
Yeah, not some little dinky add-on, but like
there's going to be a real GPS,
solid GPS reference
for motorsports,
and that's how we do it on some of the older Adams.
Yep. There's some ground speed radar as well. I've used the farm grade ground speed radar. It's only good for like 45 or 50 miles an hour. Then you can spend some real money and get in some better ground speed radar or LiDAR. But yeah, we've used that for chassis speed as well. On vehicles that were only allowed one reluctor sensor.
If you had an accelerometer, you could do it sort of empirically as well. Because you know that wheel speed's supposed to, you're supposed to know that wheel speed should equal a certain amount, or wheel speed change should equal amount of acceleration. And if you're not accelerating, then you're spinning. But
You could go old school and go to the RPM ramps, and I should be approximately this RPM at this time into the
Yeah,
run.
yeah. You can also do best pass, perfect pass strategy, which is what that is. Just say, just let my driven wheel speed only accelerate to this particular velocity at a given time as soon as I let off the trans brake.
Is this all assuming that the driven wheel speed front to rear on this all-wheel drive are all the same size and same diameter, or do you have to put in different data, to monitor the two because they're not the same? I have no idea. I've never
Well,
run
I
an
guess,
all-wheel drive car.
yeah, in theory, if you're not slipping at all, they should all be the same speed. It may be a different input on that to get it there, but everything has to be at the same speed. So the only difference could be whatever your transfer case or whatever allows. As far as an all-time all-wheel drive, it's going to have a center diff, I assume. That's going to allow some sort of traction bias.
So the factory stuff, in order to deal with yaw and stability and everything else, allows you to control, power, and if I understand it correctly, braking to all four wheels individually. Does that present any possibility of some optimization in a straight line acceleration, or is it just kind of a waste of computing power and slow the car down?
Yeah, it could. It gets real. Yeah, it gets real complex because technically you're going to see a difference in wheel speed from wheel to wheel as one starts to spin. Same thing for ABS. You could possibly lock only a single tire because it has less traction than the other ones. So if you're not running locked center diffs and locked diffs, yeah, you can get a difference. And if there is a difference in a straight line, that means you're spinning.
So the deep end of the pool on those would be like the Nissan GTRs and maybe some of the Mitsubishis. I mean, in terms of guys that are going like sevens and shit with that kind of stuff.
Actually, you know what? That makes me curious of how they're doing those traction controls. I'm gonna have to look into that a little more because I've never thought about that much.
The few DSMs, the fast DSMs I worked on, were doing it with open loop, single sensor type deal, just like you would do with like a VPS.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like the simplest
way of doing it.
Yeah, it takes some time to set up, but
it takes some effort to calibrate.
Yeah,
too.
There's probably some real complex ways to do it that are cool from a nerdy computer standpoint, but not worth
not from breaking all the parts over and over until you figure it out. Yeah.
You should actually ask Bobby with the Miss Misery truck how he his theories on that.
Think it's all open loop, isn't it? His theory is just make it hook, put the power down, I think.
Well, he's got different gear ratios front and rear and different size. He has to run a different size tire front and rear due to some harmonics change. So then he had to gear the truck differently, front and rear axle, to take advantage of the front and rear gear ratio changes. You read some of the stuff he does, it's like, wow, dude, like you're I'd have given up already. I would have given up already.
So anyway,
Mike, that truck you're tuning on, is that a two-wheel drive or a four-wheel drive? The one that you were on the no prep with
That's a
recently?
four-wheel drive diesel truck.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you guys do zero to manage any front, rear, left, right, anything. It's just everything gets everything, right?
It's big, dumb Cummins, big, dumb, stupid, go fast.
Okay, how fast is it?
He's never made it. Ryan Milliken actually does the engine tuning on the truck. I help Rod get it down this track, or in that case, the top end. Rod's a good friend of mine. It's a stock block Cummins with a set of rods in it. It's got a 475 on the manifold with a 98 mil GT55 blowing into the 475. So he hits 120s, 130 pounds of boost. Just on slicks on the sticky side of the track, leaving in no boost. He wanted his daughter to go for a ride in the truck, and we just let him make a rip, and like just kind of leaving like a dud and going. The truck went 1040s. So it's a mid 9-second truck all out that tows the boat to the boat ramp and tows the lawn trailer around. And he owns a construction company. He's a construction worker by trade. So it tows work trailers. It does work. It's a cool ass truck, man. That thing. There were a lot of really pissed off people in the big end of Orlando about that truck.
And it won a no prep race. So
yeah, so there were a lot of you've got high dollar Audis and you name it was out there, and Rod just one by one knocked every one of their dicks in the dirt, and it was absolutely hilarious.
What kind of a class or was this? I mean, just to kind of set the stage for, not everybody got to see the video like some of us did.
So with the top end race, they've been, we have big tire and small tire, and the 4-wheel drive and all-wheel drive guys were coming out of the woodworks, and we didn't feel it was fair to qualify or classify them with any other guys. So we built a 4-wheel drive versus all-wheel drive class. And basically anything that drove all 4 wheels ended up in one class. So it was everything from Rod's 2007 Mega Cab Dodge to a brand new Audi TT twin turbocharged. Supposedly the car runs 9s. And anywhere in between in that mix, it was a really good time. I have to have a meeting. Actually, I'm going to have a meeting Monday with. I'm part of the small crew that puts that race on and talks about the race. And I think we're going to add motorcycles to that race. And I'm really scared of it.
Oh, just motorcycles are the kind of motorcycle people that show up.
No, believe it or not, we had the front wheel drive guys, and the race was already interesting. And I'm worried about putting motorcycles down a no prep. I mean, we got some really fast bikes down here, and I'm worried about putting. You guys have to understand this isn't a street race. This is worse than any street you've ever been on, because this is 30-year-old pavement that when the track gets an oil down or the track gets fluid down or coolant or power steering fluid, they don't clean down there. So it's the worst street you've ever been on. And now these guys on motorcycles want to try and run down it.
Yeah, no, you don't need to say anymore. I'm scared. I don't even drive drag bikes, and that scares me. That scares me on my street bike.
Yeah, I'm
that scares me on my dirt bike.
You should be.
But the top end racing is growing. William Tetro, his buddy came out. I'll tell you right now, tell you how bad the road is, and I don't want to talk bad about Joel's truck. I'm not. He's got a 10-second bracket truck. It's just a good old small block Chevy, small kit on it. He's been playing with the nitrous, couldn't even get it on or get the nitrous on, and damn near outran one of the fastest guys at the event because his truck went A to B. And that's what it takes to race out there. I
love it when that happens. I love seeing that. When a little guy shows up, he had no expectations of being middle of the pack, and the surface sucks so bad that guy's the break point.
Yes.
Right? Love it.
The top end racing is growing on me because it's a tuner's playground, man. That is 100% tuner and driver. The money's out the window. The car's a big part of it, but it's the tuner and the driver out there, and it's a good time.
So what else we got going on? Anybody else got questions? I mean, we can wrap it up early. I know we're boring. We don't have a guest on tonight. I need to get some guests back on in here. Got some ideas coming for some new ones, some fresh ones.
I'm looking. I don't think I'm seeing everything, so I can't see if people are asking questions.
No, I think it's just that slow because everybody's watching the other thing on TV. Justin McMurtry, my man. My kid's junior dragster runs M1, and I'm not even running it.
McMurtry's good people, man.
He's a good dude.
Wait, they're running junior dragsters on M1 now?
Bro, they run junior dragsters on Nitro. I don't even want to. Yeah. We have heads up no time junior dragsters down here.
No shit. I like the idea. I'm gonna offend everybody on this call. I hate junior dragsters. I hate being at the track and they bring out the junior dragsters. I also hate towing my crap to the track on my little flatbed trailer and a guy pulls up in a toter home and a triple stacker. Yeah, it has got 2 junior dragsters in it, and then they bring this thing up. I fucking hate those things. I'm sorry.
And spoiled little brats.
I know. It just like kills me, and they got to spend all that time. So the idea that they have heads up Nitro junior dragsters, thank you, God. I'm all in favor of that.
Out there in Southern California, but back circa 06, 07, when I spent a couple years out there, I had a customer who had kids that raced, or older kids that raced at some kind of outlaw junior dragster thing. They had little, Briggs type engines, all billet everything, obviously, but making almost 80 horsepower on little inertia dynos. I'm like,
So-
what the shit do you put this in? He's like,
Dude,
oh, kids
like-
junior dragster, it's some outlaw class. It's non-sanctioned.
I've legit held a junior dragster time slip in my hand that went 642 to the 8th mile.
That's awesome.
I
That's
mean,
awesome.
Like,
I
coming from
believe
someone
that.
raced
That's
dirt
awesome.
bikes when-
I want them to put Tesla motors in junior dragsters because then they'd be fast and they'd be quiet, so I don't have to hear that shit. I'm serious. If
Crotchety
you've
drag
ever been
racer
pitted
night.
next to that crap or had to sit there in lanes and you're all
Bill,
suited
do I need to
up
send
and
you some
you're
earplugs or
dying and you
something?
got to listen to that shit.
Oh,
Sorry.
they're bad, Brian. I don't know if you've heard
Oh,
junior
they're bad. I've
dragsters
heard
or
them.
not,
So, one of the what was kind of our home test drift track in Ohio was Kilcar Raceway that has a big drag strip there, and yeah, exactly what you're saying. It'd be toter homes with 2 junior dragsters in it, and yeah.
2 really spoiled children that are going to grow up to race NHRA
Yeah.
Pro Stock.
Man,
Never have to work.
Like Erica.
I'm mixed on
Did I
that.
say
'cause,
that?
Like I get it. Like
There goes our ratings.
anyone will pour money into something if they want their kid to win it. Like I saw it when racing motocross. Like obviously,
it's-
at my level, I love kicking those kids' asses when I showed up with the bike I built with my dad.
Right.
But
But those times and situations are fewer and farther between, man. The junior ranks are
I guess
basically
it
buy your
depends
way
too.
in.
Like I hate hating on the guys just because they had money. Because I mean,
I know.
I've had guys do
I
it for
know.
the drift team I work for, and those kids are like super down to earth, and he forced them to learn how to work on their cars. Those kids could weld anything on their car. They can weld better than some guys that are the whole built not bought attitude and talking shit about these kids. So
Yeah, but
it's a
still, at
mix.
the end of the
I get
day,
it. There's also
got
the
an
kids that
inherent
show
advantage.
up that are
I'm not going to bag on the kids. I'm never going to
Yeah.
bag on the kids because
Sure, but the parents-
this conversation brought me up short one day. Somebody was talking about millennials and this and that, and they said, we weren't the ones who invented the deal with everybody gets a trophy. It was the parents that did
Right.
that shit. And you know what? They're right. So I don't
Started with
say
the
anything
baby
about
boomers.
the kids. They however they brought up and what their parents were doing, fine. But I just hate
tell you right
junior
now, reading-
dragsters, and I'm going to stop talking about it.
No, reading the Facebook comments, there's a lot of people that agree with you.
No, there's
A lot
some
of people
junior.
agree.
Jerry was a junior dragster racer. Jerry was a
Those-
junior dragster racer. He drove so goddamn fast. Sorry.
Those
Dude,
dang
like,
things still
I
aren't.
really
I'm going to
It
quote
sounds
Jerry.
terrible.
I raced junior dragsters for 8 years. I love it, but I have to say, man, they
Oh, yeah.
kill my ears now. I learned a lot, though.
You
Thank
will
you.
learn
There
a
is
lot.
a reason
yeah.
I wear earplugs and headphones I have earbuds in my helmet and I wear
Yeah.
earplugs in my Miata because
the
it
same
sounds like
thing.
shit. I don't want other people to hear it. I laugh when I hear the car with someone else driving it on track. I
You're
get
like,
it.
that's horrible. I know.
Right. I literally, the first time I had a buddy co-drive the car with me, I knew where the car was on track all day, and he comes back, he's like, I have to put a new muffler on. It's like, why? Is it broken? It's like, no, I had to hear the car for the first time outside of it.
And it was horrible.
Oh, yeah, it's terrible. I hate it.
Oh, them poor guys.
Andrew Welling on Facebook posts, they already have electric junior dragsters, one car from age 5 to 17. Thank you, God. I appreciate you posting that. I hope to see them soon.
Hey, I would rather hear those little things on Nitro than I would a freaking old 650 bracket car. It's got an old small block 350 in it.
With open headers.
Yeah, the thing's like eating the earth up, and it literally runs 750s on a big tire. It's got wheelie bars and all. Like, bro,
And they got the 5,500 RPM converter, and it sounds like it's gonna party. And I like with a button, and literally the RPM drops. It goes, "Bah," with the button.
yeah.
Well, I'm gonna stay away from my point of view on throttle stop cars tonight because then I'll kill all of our listeners and that'll be the end of it. So I'm going to keep quiet. But
Oh,
yeah,
something
that's another.
something I saw at the track the other day. We were talking about, guys. If you have a nitrous car, unless you are really good at what you're doing or using it for a specific purpose, turn the nitrous off in the burnout. I know that might sound counterintuitive to some of you, but when I'm sitting in the stage or the starting line and I see the candles lit while the car's in the burnout, we have a problem.
Now that's interesting. Amongst some of the guys that I knew back in the day that were kind of the street racer, this and that, but had more of an exhaust, they would actually do their purge in the burnout so as to not let people know that they were on the spray. So I just, no candles, mind you, no anything. Just
they're banging a bump button real fast while they're, just real quick.
Yeah. I'm not going to name any names, but that's how they made money.
Yeah, I can see Scott relying, or what's it called? I can't think of the word. Replying to questions that I can't see.
Oh, from talking to Matt Walter. Sorry,
okay.
Matt Walter, what's up? So I'm working on a race render video. If you guys know Matt Walter from Drag Week, right? And his dad, there's the guys that run that do the video, Speed Video. Is it Speed Video? Is it his company that they do the better live
Mark
track?
Walter is
Mark Walter.
Motor Mania TV.
Motor Mania TV.
Dude, he's one of
they're
the
awesome.
Drag racing, dude.
Oh, they're cool as crap. The whole family is cool. So Mark, I was watching a video or something, and I was like, man, that car could use some drivability help. And I just reached out to him. I was like, hey man, you know, let me take a look at something if you got. And he's like, yeah, sure, dude. Sent me some logs. And I mean, besides the fact that the dude drives like your average, I mean, like your top NHRA Pro Stock driver, he's like, shifts are right on point and all that stuff. He's got a naturally aspirated solid roller LS deal that he spins some high RPM with a Cale Aronson clutch setup, with a slipper tuned clutch deal, and drives it like he stole it, and then he drives it down the highway. It's basically a mini drivable pro stock car. Is the way he described it. And it's pretty cool. It's survived Drag Week and Rocky Mountain Race Week, I think, as well. He's multiple drag weeks with that car. But anyway, neat combo, and I helped him just make it drive and start up and warm up a little bit nicer and stuff. And he sent me some really cool in-car video. This thing grabs big ass wheelies, and it's also another car that it's funny, Mike. It goes right back to what you were saying about 5 minutes ago. It's a car that power-wise should get the crap kicked out of it, but this guy takes his car to no prep stuff and he can make it hook, and he's literally going rounds with this car all the way to like the finals. Yep. Was it at Edgewater or somewhere in Cincinnati? It was somewhere last 2 weekends ago, but somewhere in Ohio. Anyway, it's cool to see his car. I'm working on a data overlay since he gave me his logs, so I'm working on a data overlay for him.
I guess that is the original theory of no prep, was to be the equalizer, right?
It was.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was. Yeah. Think about it. No prep was the next step. First, we went from small to small tire. Then we went to drag radial. All of these were the limiting factor for so long, and now that, I mean, let's be real. Didn't the Toaster go 230 or go 460s on a 235 tire out of like California? So, I mean, the tire is not a limiting factor, but the tire is no longer a limiting factor. So now we take the track prep away.
Right.
And
Dang it, I don't got his video queued up, but I'll play his video next week when we get the data overlay on it. I'm finishing the Arkansas Mile stuff, but I'm doing a cool video because he gave me some really cool in-car footage. And
Jason Lockyer asked if we're talking about speakers and subwoofers. Unfortunately, Scott Evans is not online right now. But
yeah, Evans and Dahlquist are stuck with bad bandwidth problems. They were messaging us. They're up at Dahlquist's shop right now working on his sub-doofunator shit that he's got going on in his basement over there. Can't tell if it's a meth lab or a home theater, but
I think, I don't know how far away his neighbors are in Fargo, North Dakota, but I have a
feeling they hate him.
They feel his stereo. They don't hear him.
Right. But anyway, no, they're not with us.
Khalil is messaging me, and Khalil, you gotta understand, my computer's being stupid, so I'm trying to do everything on my phone. Which race, buddy? The junior dragster stuff's mostly, you have to follow Mike Asse's video. I can link you to his profile if you want to know who he is. He's the badass of the juniors. The top end racing we're doing in Orlando. The next race will be the Saturday after Thanksgiving during Turkey Rod Run at Orlando Speedway.
Gotcha. Hey, I see it while we're in here. Congratulations to Rich Mayhew, another buddy of ours. He works with the Show Me Speed guys, but he came to one of our 417 classes as well. He's here out of Springfield, but he won at the was it Mocan? Was it the Mocan No Prep? Let us know what it is that you won, Rich. But anyway, it was pretty cool because Rich just got his motor in the car like 2 days before the event last weekend, and I was like driving by, just happened to be stopping by, and we put a bass tune back on it and got it to spool, got it up on the brake, took it out for a drive because it's a Tree Street car, and it's a Coyote deal with late model Mustang. It's high 4-second car. It's going to be 460s or 70s capable, I think, is what he's planning on. But it's pretty cool. He lets me do the bass tune, make it start idle good and get on the brake. Then we hand it over to Wes Show me speed, and he does the power management and then all the chassis tuning or chassis guidance with them. And that car gets down. It is one of the most streetable true street cars running high fours that I've ever been around, because I think nothing of taking this thing a couple hundred miles. I mean, it'd make a good drag week combo. It really would.
He said he won Gary's arm drop at ORP.
Oh, that's right. Gary Spaniak's arm drop race at Ozark Raceway Park down here in the Nixa, Missouri, or Ozark, somewhere out there south of Springfield, southeast of Springfield, Missouri. Very cool.
Let's see. Anything else?
I like Rich's car. You can tell. That's like the kind of car I'd like to have.
James getting the love. Local drag strip has a bunch of sportsman racers, open headers, big tires, gutted race cars that struggle to run 10s. Yeah, that's the whole track, buddy.
Hey, James Short, are you still on here? Is your turbo kit still for sale? You should be advertising that shit on here.
Yeah, it's still for sale.
So people need to go check out Short Tuning or James Short on Facebook. He's got a fucking proven badass turbo setup for sale because he's making changes for next year. He's already making his changes.
Legit 2,300 horsepower turbo setup.
Yeah, probably has more in it too.
It's got more at the crank than that too, right? That's wheel axle numbers.
Well, axle, if you want to, technically speaking, I guess.
I love James because he doesn't give a shit what it makes it, the wheels or axles or the whatever, the chingus. But all he cares about is what it does at the track.
I'm gonna have to start using it at the shop now.
Oh yeah, it makes 600,000 horsepower at the chingus, but it runs the number. Is all we give a shit about.
What's the
even more
Chingus to wheel
importantly, it
horsepower?
gets in the winner's circle. That's what counts.
Exactly. James has been going rounds and getting in the winner's circle, which is
That's
even
what
better than one and
counts.
done. It
Yeah,
does.
everything else is just
You're making us
noise.
proud, James. Because I remember talking to Jason this weekend at the track. I'm like, oh man, this car we're working on has the potential to be the fastest speed of the meet. But if we don't get it, we can always brag up on James' accomplishments. So
I don't know about all that. There's
Yeah.
a lot more people that win more races than I do, but it's been a fun season despite all the crap going on. That's for sure.
Yeah, at least you guys out there are getting some events in your part of the country, which
Right.
is good to see, man. It's really surprising the states that are screwing stuff up. Man, I was really disappointed in Texas. Just gonna leave it at that. I was really disappointed in the rootin' tootin' gun toting state.
It's changed quite a bit since I lived there, from what I understand.
You've got to deal with what goes on in Austin, and that's not the same thing that y'all
No.
think of.
That's like their
Unfortunately.
Denver. Ugh.
Yeah, or their yeah.
Austin and Houston, yeah.
Ugh. But whatever. Anyway, so I was disappointed traveling through Texas. But the
By
Southeast.
the way,
not so
I
bad.
want to do a shout out here to Scott Clark and Jason Shackelford and Scott Evans for turning this thing into the best audio of almost any podcast I listen to.
Cool.
And it doesn't break anymore, so I don't have the opportunity to say my broadcast
Oh
was
no!
brought to you.
Oh.
Jesus.
Yes, indeed.
Break something, Jason, quick.
The turkey rare breed single barrel.
I don't know. I mean, I hear a dog pulls cables out from time to time still.
yeah. I just want to.
No, I got a huge thanks to Evans for helping me up our game in the first year and so. And then this last couple of months, Jason, our producer over here, is hold on. Oh crap! There he is. What's up,
Wow.
Shaq? We call him Shaq. But anyway, he's everything from the RealTuners audio and video producer now to he's actually been doing some remote tunes. We've been training him, which is kind of cool. He's helped with the last 2 classes. He did the live stream for us from the class in Texas, and we'll be doing it. Hey, what a great segue. November 7th and 8th. Sign up for our class at realtuners.com. Check out the classes. We actually have 9 seats left to the class in Little Rock, Arkansas. Okay. It's cheap to fly there. It's cheap to stay there. Cool place with the dyno right there in the classroom. So neat place. If you can't make it, sign up for the live stream class as well. There's a live stream option, but they're all at RealTuners classes under live tuning classes. Click the button. You'll see them. Anyway, so yeah, thanks to Evans and my buddy Jason here for helping us get things sorted out. But we do have good quality audio. It's funny that Bill says that. We've actually, so the fact is, if you're trying to build a podcast or something like that, or a live stream, the single most important factor, according to people that watch a lot of these, is audio. A lot of people don't realize that. If you have shitty audio quality and not good levels, you won't get noticed. That's how we met Dan Parker. Dan actually contacted me to say, man, y'all got your audio really good. It's good and hot and blah, blah, blah. That was kind of funny. That's how we met Dan. So
Yeah, and that was when we were doing it with stone knives and bear skins.
Oh, God. Yeah, yeah.
Relatively speaking.
Now, we've even had, I'll tell you, we've had benefactors step up in the holiday time a couple of Christmases ago and said, hey, man, if I give you a little bit of money, what would it help? You know, and we actually bought a bunch of software plugins to make our shit sound good and to make sure that our video obviously sucks, but our broadcast audio quality, you could technically, this meets the whole standards for all the major networks.
I mean, no one really needs to see our faces that much.
No, I know, right? I was like, why do video? Well, everybody else does video live, but I was like, all right, fine, we'll do video, but all I gave a shit about was audio. Plus the podcast. To be honest with you, the podcast downloads are way more views than our YouTube or Facebook views. Like if I load the podcast up tonight at midnight, 1,500 unique people will have listened to it by the time I get up at 6:30 in the morning tomorrow. So like the initial, very quickly will you get 5, 6, 7,000, 10,000 downloads for the podcast in the first week or two that it's available. So people give a shit about the audio side more than the video. Apparently, I don't know. Whatever. That's how it works for us.
What are you drinking, Scott? What is that?
Blue Gatorade.
Okay, all right. It's just
man,
just
we
checking.
didn't do that. We were singing the beer run song and totally forgot to make the beer run.
That's
Jason,
all right.
Yeah.
I have a question. My question is based on a post by Rob Senker over on the Facebook side. Rob says, local drag strip has a bunch of sportsman racers, open headers, big tires, gutted race cars, run 10s. Buddy's all steel, full interior, quiet drag car runs in the high 8s. Here's the deal: is Drag Week, Rocky Mountain Race Week, is that changing the definition of what cool quote race car, street cars is, or is it such a narrow little niche that at the end of the day, compared to the run of what people have and are built, it's still, just an outlier? I'm just curious. I don't know.
Was that for one of us?
That's for anybody. I mean, I'm posing that to the
I mean,
audience.
so my thing is, the drag week cars definitely make. I mean, there's a bunch of ways to look at drag week. They definitely bring a new I mean, they kind of pull the definition of True Street back from that whole, I figured out how to make a race car go 20-mile cruise thing, like pump gas drags you saw the last couple of years. So that's kind of cool. But then it's still, I mean, it's kind of a place where if you're not that great at class racing, you still have a pretty good chance if you are just masochistic and don't stop working. You know what I mean? You may never go Ronnie Rhodes times. There are faster NA big block cars that can be driven on the street than Doc McIntyre's car. I don't think there's any that are faster that can be driven all week long without pulling the valve covers off. So you kind of have to make sure that you're looking at everything fair. Sometimes it's difficult to have a fair vantage point on the drag week cars. I like it. I think it's cool. Do I think it defines the standard? A lot of people harass Andy Frost or that Rob Shigfree guy for not taking their cars out and proving that they can go do drag week or whatever. I don't think they have to, to be called a street legal car. Their local constabulary decides if it's a street legal car or not here in the States. But otherwise, I'm just rambling. That's what I think.
Yeah, I see Matt Walters on here. I see Darce Laws is on here. Guys that have done a bunch of the events, whether it's Rocky Mountain or Drag Week. And the bottom line is those two events, other than if you're the outright winner of Rocky Mountain Race Week, and hats off to Matt Frost for making that a paying proposition, at least to a point. But it's just, I think it's changed the conversation a little bit about, are you a poser or are you a car that can actually run a number and still drive to the, donuts on the weekend, or in my part of the world, or whatever it is. And back in the day, and for me, I get to say back in the day because I'm old as dirt. And the cool guy in town was the guy who had the quote fastest car in town, right? It was like everybody knew that so and so had the baddest ass car in town. And I was in Tucson, Arizona at that time, so a small town. And it was like that meant that you met up on the cruise spot, which was Speedway by the Jack in the Box, and then you drove your cars out to the race spot that night, and whoever was quickest was the baddest ass guy in town. So that was the standard. And all of the other things about this, and Freiberger's idea of drag week evolving from 2-lane blacktop was the same thing. You drive somewhere and you lay down the spank, and you're the guy. And I wonder if are we going there, or is this all going to be meaningless because I can now buy a Tesla S Plaid, which will run a 9 flat in a car I can drive to the track with air conditioning and a stereo. I don't know.
The times are definitely changing in our world. And actually, one of my buddies just tagged me, says he's hearing me on the podcast. In our world, we used to have what was called Doubles. It was a local hoagie joint, and everyone showed up at Doubles, and they had a meet every Wednesday. And then afterwards, literally, it was a giant free-for-all race to Hooters afterwards. And that was what we did every single Wednesday. And that stuff doesn't exist anymore, man. You don't find that out there anymore, where there's those car meets, there's those call it the police breaking it up, call it, I don't know what to blame it on, but I don't feel like that stuff exists anymore, unfortunately.
No, like you'll see a few here and there, and they get ruined every single time.
I blame the drifters.
They
come in and they want to go sliding around corners instead of running straight like the rest of us.
That wasn't subtle.
Perduto subtle ever? Really?
No, not right now. Not tonight. It's I mean, you see that it's changing though. I mean, there were, like, I lived in Omaha, Nebraska for a long time, and there was a pretty legendary, some pretty fast cars up there in the 80s, late 80s, and maybe the early 90s. And people always talked about the good old days, the golden years, but their fucking fastest street cars ran like 10s on the street.
There's truth to that.
I mean, I saw a draggy the other day from an 8th mile hit on a street. It was a 450 pass.
Yep.
Small tire guy.
Look, we're in the middle of the horsepower wars again. It's just a different horsepower wars than what we've ever seen before. Look at Mopar shoving a freaking Hellcat motor into anything they produce with wheels. They're just shoving that motor into every model.
I know.
As much as people want to make fun of them, and I hate most of their shit, their marketing guys every time is like, "What do we do?"
So smart, dude. They got on with Freiberger and the Finnegan faster with Ferry whatever.
They did. Well, I mean, they sponsored. They had cars in Fast and Furious. They've had cars in every movie. They're shitty cars, but they're in front of everybody all the time.
They got with Hot Rod Magazine. Those guys are like, man, this the fucking, what is it crowd? The what is it? Freiberger's Roadkill, the clone of Matt Happel's show or whatever. Like, they got into that. It was actually kind of funny watching the Roadkill guys. Clearly, they were getting bank from the Mopar people, because the Roadkill's theme was, let's take this super shitbox 1971. It's to be cool to Freiberger, it's got to be in this narrow little window of all these little criteria, otherwise it's just not cool and worth doing. It was funny. The funniest thing about Roadkill was watching them have to assimilate a Hellcat powered something or other into their shitty things. It was like, what they made with what was cool for their clientele or for their viewers was hey, let's go jump the 70 CUDA over a dirt hill thing or whatever that we found in a barn. Well, it was funny having them, like, they clearly got the Dodge knew, hey, this is the crowd, people are watching you, we need to market through these guys or whatever, through these channels. It was fun watching that, actually. And then God, Mopar has marketed like crazy. And if you look at the Hemi stuff now, man, those groups are growing. That's probably the next biggest thing to the LS guys.
It is in a lot of ways. I mean, and so you go back and, Freiberger jumped ship from Hot Rod with Chad to go do
Car Junkie
original
TV.
Yeah, Car Junkie TV, to become Freiberger's Junkyard, to become Bang Shift, and then went back on the ship, which is unusual in that world, with hot rod and everything. But the bottom line is this vision of let's put together crap and drive it around until it breaks has a certain audience. It's not me. God knows. I have no interest in that crap at all. At the same time, it's like, let's put a Hellcat engine in an original 68 Charger. Well, Mike Copeland at Arrington is the one who actually figured out how to do that, kind of in the background.
Yep. So I just did a tune for them today, by the way.
Oh, Mike is the coolest guy in the
love
world.
it. So, God, dude, the Diversified. Well, it's Diversified Creations, and then he owns Arrington as well. So I was working with the Diversified Creations guys on a couple of builds that they've done. I got to tune their. Did you see that mid-engine, mid-80s? What was that the miniature? It was a front-wheel drive El Camino that Mopar made, miniature thing. That the Rampage. Did you see them?
The back motor Hemi Rampage, early Hemi Rampage. Yeah,
for SEMA last year.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I got to tune on that car. Those guys build the coolest stuff, man, and they're so professional and like fast. It's hilarious.
Well, speaking of like Brian, former Detroit, OE engineers, meaning people that actually know their shit. Sorry, but to blow smoke up your butt, Brian. But the bottom line is, you guys know your shit. And so, yeah, they can make that stuff work, and they're making that stuff work. And so all of these transplants and the other stuff, that's where some of the fun thing, we're in this perverse golden age right now of astoundingly fast OE cars, like the current Shelby GG500, the Hellcat Demons, some of the Chevys and stuff. It's, I hate to say this, but I think we might be at the apogee. I think we might be right at the top of it, because now.
Well, I feel like we're at the edge of a cliff. But
well, you can call it what you want, but the bottom line is
would imply some chance to curve downward before it just does this.
Well, so Governor Newsom and his magnificent, awesome, and soul power over the universe has decided there will be no more internal combustion cars after 2035. I signed the petition to get the, pardon my French, fucker out of office, but I'm sorry, but governors are not kings. And so our self-appointed king has decided there will be no more internal combustion cars in California. And it's like, I'm sorry, dude, that's not even right from a climate perspective. We got to be a little more intelligent about this. But that's where we're headed. So it might be that if you want to buy the pinnacle of cars, you better go to your dealership right now. I hate to say that out loud, but it might be.
Yeah, I mean, we got 4-cylinders making what big V8s back in the golden era that you'll have some people say making that kind of horsepower.
Didn't you say you had a 2-liter direct injected making 400 horsepower? Like that's
yeah, it's got more into it. Yeah, I mean, and that's stock. There's nothing changed on this. So yeah, I mean, and that's we were talking about that at our shop today. That like it's ridiculous. Like RB cars, even now, like even just with modern turbo technology, that if we've got an RB car on the dyno and it's not making 500, we're like, this thing's a piece of crap. Why are we even working on this?
Yes.
So, and there's always been, you get some ups and downs. You get a horsepower war, then you see everybody like, oh, we went overboard. There's that, you can tell it goes overboard. Everyone backs down. They run out of money. There's a recession, something like that. Racing pulls back and it slows down and then it comes back up. I think though, what's going to happen is that next upward is going to be probably more e-vehicles and stuff like that as far as the street's concerned. I think we'll see a big jump in the aftermarket as people go that way. But the next fast streetcars, the next fast round of streetcars, I'm guessing is going to be more hybrids and more electronic cars. And if you look at the current supercars, what's the fastest and the best of those supercars? They're all hybrid.
Yep, hybrid drivelines.
And it's
they're doing it on purpose, them sons of bitches.
It's
GM's already said the new Corvette.
It's hard to beat though. If you look at the tech and like the Koenigsegg 1.1.
Oh yeah, no, the tech is awesome. Especially if it doesn't fall apart. And Toyota's already proven that, man. I got friends that have beater cars and airport cars that are old first and second generation Priuses, and those things run great, which is sad at the same time. It's they got it figured out. But at the same time they're laying off all the combustion engineers. They won't, we'll be doing hobby stuff for the rest of our days, whatever.
I mean, I think anyone that understands a control scheme can easily move from combustion to e-vehicles. It's the same idea.
Sure.
It's
I recently learned gas turbines, man. Like I said, we're working with the Speeduino guys to build a custom controller for the gas turbine to try and set the ultimate wheel-driven land speed record in the world. It's on a car that already holds it, which helps, but try to be the first guys to have a 500 mile an hour record at Bonneville. Wheel-driven. So working on that. That's going to be a really cool project. I don't know if that bores people in here or not, but we'll talk about it later on over Christmas. I'll probably be on the dyno with this thing first quarter of next year. Darce Laws has a nice post here. Each to their own. I love the camaraderie with Drag Week and Rocky Mountain Race Week. It's not all about winning. It's also about meeting new people, helping people, the stress of driving a hot rod that's eating itself up as you drive down the road, and all the stories when you get home. Those that have experienced know what I'm talking about. Those that haven't are missing out. I'm going to have to agree with Darce on that part, all of that, actually, because he's right. It's cool to find yourself in the winner's circle, but it's still really cool to do an endurance drag racing event, which I do believe we coined that terminology. Did we not?
Actually, Scott, I want to give you credit because the first person I ever heard say that out loud was you.
I think
mostly because you were not wanting to say drag week, but hey, the first one I heard say the phrase endurance drag racing, I think was you.
Yeah.
But the point is, we now have to acknowledge the fact that Freiberger, give him credit, created the concept with Hot Rod Drag Week. All of us that were there for 05 know that. I apologize for the noise in the background.
That's okay.
Jesus.
They're actually not that bad.
My dogs are having it out over here over a toy. So that's where it started. But now we've got multiple events. Matt Frost has stepped up incredibly along with Allison to create, 2 events this year, of which I got to do
2
one.
Rocky Mountain Race Week events.
And the bottom line is endurance drag racing can be democratized. It can be lots of places, and there were other smaller events, which I can't speak to because I didn't go there. I don't know a lot about them, but there were 2-day and 3-day events, and they're all about the same idea, which is drive your shit to the track, race, and then drive it to somewhere else to prove that you actually can drive it somewhere else and race. That's a pretty cool thing, and that goes back to what we were all doing as kids when our race car was our street car, was our daily driver, was our everything else, and it had to work. So it's not a bad thing. So that's a cool thing while we are in the twilight of the internal combustion engine and all the other shit that's going on. And I will say this, I look forward to the next thing, which is racing electric cars, because my electric fucking car is going to beat all the rest of y'all's electric cars.
Right.
So, it's
that's what matters in the end. Do we have something with wheels to race?
I have some customers in San Jose, California. They do I calibrated an engine through its developmental phase for hybrids and parallel hybrids. And it was so funny because these guys had like hot rod Priuses that were not unimpressive at acceleration. I was actually kind of surprised. Hot rod, and they were literally shopping for little baby ass drag radials, trying to get these things to hook up. Like, all right, that's cool. But that was cool.
Marketing upgraded battery cable kits today?
No.
They're coming. I swear to God, they're coming. And not to mention, the original hot rodders were the guys who put Cadillacs in Model A's.
Right.
And that's what hot rodding was back in the day, was I want to put the most power I can afford into the lightest piece of shit that I've got. And which is why I can't really put too much shade on the LS into everything deal, because it's like, yeah, I get that. That's hot rodding. Richard Guido just posted something. He said, Matt Frost rules, made 2020 a great event, even though its Canadians couldn't go. And it's like, is that the biggest bullshit in the history of the planet?
They can't cross the Canadian border.
They can't cross the border because of the COVID nonsense. So I don't want to be political here, but fuck, come on,
Canada. And that's Canada's deal, not ours.
It's Canada and the U.S. Admittedly, I can't travel to Canada for anything now without arriving and then quarantining for 14 days. I think that has more to do with their protectionism around consulting and people selling services into Canada, which I dealt with for 20 years.
Yep.
Anyway, Rich, I get it. We want you guys back. I want to come north of the border. I want to go to the Canagan Valley and go racing and, well, wine drinking, but that's another story for another time. What else do we got? What other questions do we have?
Anyone else? I got 80 people listening live. That's interesting for as off of topics as we have tonight. Sorry. Anyone? Going once, twice? You know what that means, Jason? Cue up the outro music then. All right. I think that's about it. Early. No, everybody's over there wide. No one said anything about the debates, so who knows?
Oh, my Facebook feed is alive right now.
Oh, is it?
I've seen a few things, and the only things I keep seeing are videos of a bunch of eye rolling and face terrible facial expressions.
Contortions of the face.
Yeah.
All right.
They still look like they're eating dirt sandwiches, so who knows? That's all I know.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and have Jason cue up some tunes and bring us out here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Everybody on YouTube chat, all 80-some people here total tonight. That's pretty cool. Thanks, guys. We'll get the podcast loaded up, and you podcast listeners can enjoy this in the later evening or in the morning. But that's about it. So don't forget to check out our classes. November 7th and 8th, Little Rock, Arkansas. Go to RealTuners.com and click on live tuning classes, and you will see all the details about the live tuning classes. The only one we got on the calendar right now. There are 9 seats left as of when the show started. And there's also, I think there's about 10 seats left on the live stream as well. So the live stream interactive is damn near as good as being there in person. It's pretty cool. Anyway, that's about all we have. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. And we will talk to all the rest of y'all here next week. Thanks again for checking out.